Well, welcome and good morning. My name is Pastor Brian. If I have not met you in person and you're new, I'd love to say hi sometime. I promise I'm not scary. And for those who are watching online, we're grateful that you are here. Now, we are in our penultimate message in our series, Wisdom for Life. And we have new people who come in either here in the room or maybe you're just kind of tuning in. A quick recap. When the Bible talks about wisdom, the Bible's goal is to make you a wise person. That is a different goal than saying you just are somebody who knows some wise things. We might liken it to somebody who studies really hard for a test or an exam. They know what they're doing. They know what they're talking about. And when it comes time to show the fruit of that, you got it. You're ready and you're prepared and you feel good about that. That is a person who has embodied the lesson. Now, contrast that with the person who's kind of elbowing their buddy and saying, hey, what's the answer? And you're kind of writing it down, okay? Those are two very different things. Knowing what to do because someone told you, do this, don't do that, start here, don't do this, is very different from saying, but I am a wise person. Now, this is why this matters. The Bible is here to equip you for life and godliness. Now, if you've noticed, if you've ever had a question in life, maybe it's something like, should I take this job or not? Should I continue in a relationship with this person or should I break it off, right? Should I change this about my fitness routine? You have all sorts of questions in life. And when you're flipping through the pages of the Bible, shock upon shocks, it doesn't tell you specifically exactly what to do. I've never opened up the Bible and I'm somewhere in the book of Habakkuk and it says, Brian, stop hanging out with that person. They're a bad influence on you, period. Never had that, right? Because that's not how the Bible is built. It's not intended to tell you the answer to every question in life specifically. What the Bible is trying to do and what Proverbs is trying to do is to make you a wise person. Which is why we've defined wisdom like this. Wisdom is the ability to skillfully navigate the demands of life. There's two dimensions to it. I know what is correct, and then I do what is correct. If you simply know the right thing to do, and you do nothing with it, the Bible actually calls that foolish. Wisdom is not simply knowledge, it's knowledge correctly applied. And so here's what we've been doing. We took a survey. What topics do you want to go over? And we've been going through all of them. Normally, most weeks, we spin a little wheel up here and we have some fun with this. I don't know what the topic is every week. It's something different. Every hour has picked a different topic. We do the scriptures in different orders. We've had some fun with it, but since we're down to the final two, I'm just going to do our last one here today. Next week, my wife is going to join me, who's a mental health counselor. She's going to join me. We're going to tag team what Proverbs has to say on mental health. So we'll do that together next week. I wanted her to be up here in case we spun the wheel, but she does not like the spontaneity of randomly getting up on any given Sunday to do that. So that's going to be next week. We're going to do that one together, which means the final topic that has not been chosen by this hour today is the topic of marriage. So we're going to talk about marriage today and what does the Bible have to say wisdom looks like in marriage. How can you be a wise person when it comes to marriage? And you might be thinking, Brian, but I'm not married. I'm going to tell you, actually, there's still a lot of these principles that can be applied to your life. But again, it's more than just a direct one-to-one output. To be able to think and become a wise person, regardless of the scenario you find yourselves in, is going to be one of the best gifts that you can give yourself this year. Better than any new skincare routine, better than any new nutrition thing that you've got going on. It's going to be life-changing for you. So let's talk about being a wise person when it comes to these sort of situations like marriage. Now, coming off of Valentine's Day. February is the worst month. I'm just going to declare it. It's the worst month. It's a short month. It's when winter is like, are we done yet? The snow is not pretty. The snow is dirty, okay? And it's been around far too long. They try to throw, Valentine's Day into the mix in February to spice it up. It doesn't. It's not it. So if you're married, at the time of this recording, people watch this, for a whole bunch of other times throughout the year. But for today, people in the room or live streaming, if you're married and you're coming off of Valentine's Day, you're either doing really well or it's not going well at all. There's really nothing in between. Like Valentine's Day either like pushes it forward in a good way, or you like didn't get things ready in time, you weren't thoughtful, you didn't prepare, maybe something blew up in the dinner time. One of two things. I like to be prepared. So I had my Valentine's Day card 3 weeks in advance of Valentine's Day, and I'm checking out at Paper Source up there in the 70s. And I just, as a fun question, I said, how many people the morning of Valentine's Day are like pounding down the door to get a card? And she said, we have a line out the door. We open an hour early on Valentine's Day because the amount of people who didn't think to get a card until that day. I said, any chance you want to talk to me about what the demographic is like of that group of people? It was one specific gender. I won't say which. I'll leave a mystery. There's a mystery here, people. You can imagine what it is. When we talk about this idea of marriage and love and Valentine's, sometimes we have an inappropriate view, or at least, maybe this is more to the point, a shallow view of what love is and what that looks like in a marriage. Let's talk about what does that mean today, and what does wisdom look like in that context. I'm going to let you guys pick 1 through 5. What are we doing? 3. Let's do number 3 here. Proverbs 17:9. As we talk about wisdom in marriage. Proverbs 17:9 says this: whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he who repeats a matter separates close friends. Let's talk about what wisdom looks like. All right, so when you are in a marriage, it is impossible for you to be living in close proximity with another human being for longer than just a few days and you not start to see some problems, okay? Do you want to know why that is? Because all of you have problems. I'll include myself. All of us have problems, right? I've never met a person who has everything together. And here's the secret, right? Everybody walks in, and unless you are some sort of, narcissistic individual, most people's default is to go, wow, I think everyone's got their life together more than I do. And I feel like my stuff must be worse, it must be unique, it must be different. And I've got this little complex of like, I come to church and everybody seems like they got it all together, and what's wrong with me? But the reality of it is, everybody has flaws. We have struggles. There's good things that we should do that we don't. There's bad things that we shouldn't do that we still do, and everything in between. Now what happens is, you meet somebody, you're just caught up in this sort of thing, and it's love, and everybody's kind of on their best behavior when it's dating. It's just true, it is, right? And then you get married and you go on the honeymoon, and that's great, but stuff starts to, rear its head. And occasionally it freaks people out. And they go, whoa, is this a problem? Is this a problem? I thought that when I watched like a love show on TV, they're just constantly gazing into each other's eyes at all times. And if that's not the case, am I with the wrong person? Can you be in a right relationship and have problems? Boy, I hope the answer is yes. Otherwise, mine is doomed, right? When the Bible talks about how do we deal with those things, okay, here's one way that we need to think about it. Whoever covers an offense seeks love, but he or she who repeats a matter separates close friends. Here's just an important principle for you. There are times, friends, where you need to point out and correct something. Look, if someone's about to turn and they're gonna turn into oncoming traffic, if there's something dangerous, you need to say something, okay? There's times where someone's really making a wrong choice, or there's times where you need to speak up to be a mirror to somebody. But let me tell you, that's a whole lot easier than this, which is a lot more common, where you need to just kind of go, you know what? They're just hangry right now, and I'm gonna let it go. There is a grace in seeing someone's sin or flaw and holding it, not excusing it, but holding it and going, you know what? It's okay, I do that too. I get it. The person who's willing to be a close companion to you and see the flaws and express grace. That's one of the most powerful, changing relationships we have in our lives, which is why I will argue with you that marriage is almost like a sacrament in the sense that it brings grace into our lives. When Laura sees up close how much I struggle, and friends, I struggle. Some of you would be like, I don't even know if I want to hear what that guy has to say if you knew how I struggle. When she sees that, she goes, you know what? It's not an excuse, it's not whatever, but I want you to know there's grace for you. Do you know what that does for us? It allows for us to experience what we know theologically to be true, which is a loving God who goes, while we were still enemies, Christ died for us. Not when you had your act together, not when you finally had a track record of getting it right. The expression of grace in the midst of it being very clearly undeserved. It helps us feel something about this truth about God, and it actually deepens our relationship with God and our understanding of grace. If I could say it foundationally, marriage is having a faithful companion when it's good and when it's hard. When I do all these marriage ceremonies, right, you say things like, in sickness and in health. You know what people think of when they say that? They think, oh, cancer, right? That means if someone gets cancer, I'm not going to be like, see ya, right? Can I say what's more common? In sick and tiredness and in health. That's a lot more common, people. A lot more common. And in fact, that's kind of harder in some ways. Whoever covers an offense seeks love. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do is just give grace and allow it to be what it is. But if you're this person who's got to constantly point it out, I cannot see a fault without naming it loud and clear, you're actually going to make things harder on yourself. And again, there's a time and place for feedback. But if your MO is always, that's wrong, you didn't do that right, you didn't do this, that's not promoting love. What that promotes is law. I'm constantly missing out. Man, I'm just always something wrong. And it will degrade the relationship. Choose when to speak. And friends, choose when to just let it go. And it will be okay. I love that the Bible says this. His mercies are new every morning. Do you know why I think that is? Because, friends, we screw up every night. Every night. And when you can experience that with another human being, you're going to learn more about God. Let's do another one. I can't take too long on these. I'm so used to preaching just one verse here. 1, 2, 4, 5. What do we got? 5. Strong consensus. I like that. All right. Proverbs 7. Well, we're going to do the whole proverb here, people. Proverbs chapter 7. A lot of proverbs are kind of these short, pithy sayings. One verse, maybe a couplet, 2 verses. By the way, your verses were added in to help with finding the text. The chapters themselves don't have verses in them in the original text. We just do it to help us navigate it. Sometimes you get an extended section on this. Here's an example of that. Proverbs chapter 7. I'd encourage you to turn there. I don't have all of it on the slides because it is a bit lengthy. But it sounds like this. Proverbs chapter 7, verse 1. My son, keep my words and treasure up my commandments with you. Keep my commandments and live. Keep my teaching as the apple of your eye. Bind them on your fingers. Write them on the tablet of your heart. Say to wisdom, you are my sister, and call insight your intimate friend, to keep you from the forbidden woman, from the adulteress with her smooth words. For at the window of my house I looked out through my lattice, and I have seen among the simple, I have perceived among the youths a young man lacking sense, passing along the street near her corner, taking the road to her house in the twilight, in the evening, at the time of night and darkness. And behold, the woman meets him dressed as a prostitute, wily of heart. That's a fun phrase. She is loud and wayward. Her feet do not stay at home. Now in the street, now in the market, and at every corner she lies in wait. She seizes him and kisses him, and with a bold face says to him, I have offered sacrifices, and today I have paid my vows. So now I have come out to meet you, to seek you eagerly. I have found you. I have spread my couch with coverings, colored with linens from Egyptian linen. I perfumed the bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us take our fill of love till the morning. Let us delight ourselves with love. For my husband is not at home. He's gone on a long journey, and he's taken a bag of money with him. At full moon, he will come home. With much seductive speech, she persuades him. With her smooth talk, she compels him. All at once, he follows her, as an ox goes to the slaughter, or as a stag is caught fast, till an arrow pierces its liver. As a bird rushes in the snare, he does not know that it will cost him his life. And now, O sons, listen to me and be attentive to the words of my mouth. Let not your heart turn aside to her ways. Do not stray into her paths, for many a victim has she laid low, and all her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is the way to Sheol, going down to her chambers, the way of death. Now, let me give just a feature of this. Proverbs, primarily the content was collected. It didn't say that Solomon wrote every verse of Proverbs. He collected them. Some of them he wrote himself. Other ones were wise words he said, and he included them in the book. But he's writing as a father to a lot of sons, is primarily in the kingdom. He had a lot of wives, a lot of kids, a lot of sons. That's who it's primarily addressed to. So a lot of the framing of Proverbs is a young man and some of these things about interaction with women. But let me just be really, really clear. This applies the other way too. You could say, my daughter, don't go with this person who's going to entice you and seduce you into being in a sexual relationship with them that's inappropriate, right? It goes both ways. I don't want to miss that. But what are we talking about here? What do we think about wisdom? Part of what you need to do, if you want a marriage that not only just lasts, but actually thrives, you need some real guardrails. You need some real guardrails on your marriage. What is the foundational problem with this? The problem with this passage, what's so unique about this, is it does not start with somehow him finding himself in this bed with this woman. That's not where the problem starts. There's a lot of people in life who sit there and they go, wow, I don't know how I ended up here. This was a crazy thing. I don't know how it just happened. Oops, I'm so sorry. I didn't intend this. Friends, that's just a lie. It just is. The choices we make that lead us down certain roads, that engage with different types of temptation, it leads us down a certain path. That's why when we talk about Proverbs, two things are foundational. Proverbs says, first and foremost, there is a character component to wisdom. It's not simply knowledge. It's the fear of the Lord that is the beginning of wisdom. You have to sit here and say, God, I'm going to choose your truth, even if it's over my opinion. I got to choose that God is correct and I'm not if they come into conflict. If you don't agree with that, you're going to go nowhere as far as Proverbs is concerned. Second of all, wisdom is understanding that tomorrow begins today. Your life is a series of interconnected days, moments, hours, and you are going in a direction. Is it a direction towards godliness and wisdom? Is it a direction towards foolishness? And people wake up and they go, how did I end up here? How did I end up with an estranged marriage? How did I end up breaking the vow that I made? I used to be so excited about this, and this whole thing blew up. You landed there step by step. And we have to be thoughtful about this. The problem with this verse, all right, look back at the beginning, because here's where this whole thing started. All the way back in verse 6. For at the window of my house, I looked through my lattice. This is the perspective of wisdom personified talking. And I've seen among the simple, I perceived among the youths, a young man lacking sense. He's not wise. Why was he lacking sense? Let's see what he's doing. Passing along the street near her corner. He knows where she is. He goes, I'm on my way home, but maybe I should go this route tonight, because he knows she's there. He kind of wants to catch a little glimpse, a little interaction, someone who's kind of waving, makes him feel good about himself, make him feel strong, right? And he's going, there's part of him's going, but I'm not going to go in. I just want to skirt it for a little bit. I just want, to get the wave, get the high, feel like I'm still valuable. passing along the street near her corner, taking the road to her house in twilight, in the evening, at the time and night in darkness. Look, he knows exactly what he's doing. And he's telling himself, it's not that I'm going to go see her. I'm just choosing to go at the absolute worst possible time to avoid temptation. That's all. But I'm not going to end up there. Friends, the Bible talks about the need to guard your heart. We are not as strong and resilient as we pretend to be. We really are not. And when you are choosing to do something on willpower alone, you are in a dangerous position. Because willpower, by its very nature, is a limited resource, and it will run dry. If you are constantly skirting with these bad actions, if you're constantly putting yourself in a situation where if you misstep, you're going to go down a path you don't want to, and you're relying on willpower and just strength in the moment, you're going to set yourself up for failure. You know what this looks like in a modern day, right? We understand this intuitively when it comes to we'll just pick diets, okay? If you're really trying hard to cut back calories and you don't want to, you've got a plan and you've committed to something and all this, and that plan does not include fast food, don't take your coffee break at McDonald's. It's pretty simple, okay? Don't just sit there and take your work midday phone calls next to a giant plate of donuts when everybody else is eating them, right? We kind of understand this. Don't put yourself in a bad situation. That makes it easy to fall and fall far. Wisdom in marriage is understanding this. You need to put some guardrails on so that there are habits, there are paths in place that don't lead you down her road late at night when you know she's going to be standing there. You got to be smart in this, people. Pragmatically, for a marriage, this means I'd be very careful about building deep emotional connections with somebody of the opposite sex who's not in relationship with your spouse and you guys both share that connection. Do you know what mostly starts with emotional connection before anything else? Did you know that? Right? You need to be thoughtful. And I'm not one of those people you can't be in a room with a woman if she's, or don't be in a car. I don't do that, be like, get behind me, Satan. Don't do that. Don't be weird. Don't be weird. But that doesn't mean you can't be smart. It doesn't mean you can't be smart. If I have this sort of connection, there's a real clear, I try to include my wife in it. Hey, by the way, do you know I want you to meet her. Not because I'm thinking anything about that person, because we're smart to have some real clear guardrails. This, by the way, isn't them's fighting words. I'm not trying to get anyone riled up right now, but this is about the books you read, all right? We'll cover a whole bunch of stuff. We'll live in fantasy land with somebody who's not my spouse, but it's okay because it's a fantasy book. That's fine, right? We need to be careful. How much are we imagining a reality outside of our spouse? That's a bit of a danger zone. Pulling things up on your phone, well, I'm just going to be on OnlyFans, and, I'm mostly just to keep up with the Uzis. Look, people, I had a guy tell me once, I go for evangelism. I was like, that's great. Where do you go? He says, I go to the strip club because that's where people need Jesus. I was like, that's not great. That's really not, I'm dead serious. He was very serious to me, but I'm not there for people. I'm there to meet people. And Jesus ate with tax collectors and sinners. I was like, boy, I hear you. But this certainly feels like it's a cover for something else. And maybe 9 out of 10 times you're locked in. But buddy, this is a bad choice. Just wait at the door. This really should not be, right? You need to be thoughtful about that. Maybe it looks like having a conversation with somebody. Man, where am I in my imagination, my physical placement, or in reality, skirting temptation and relying on will alone? That's the problem with this youth. Putting himself in the wrong place at the wrong time and telling himself he was still doing it for good reasons. Friends, we lie to ourselves too frequently. We need to be wise about it. 1, 2, or 4? 2. I don't think we'll get through all these. We'll see. Proverbs 11, 24 through 27. Oh, I love this proverb. Proverbs 11, 24 through 27 says this: one gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give and only suffers want. Whoever brings a blessing will be enriched, and one who waters will himself be watered. The people curse him who holds back grain, but a blessing is on the head of him who sells it. Whoever diligently seeks good seeks favor, but evil comes to him who searches for it. Look back at the first verse in this. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. Another withholds what he should give and only suffers want. If you hear nothing else from this entire message, please hear this. The idea, the cultural trope, the popular idea that marriage is a 50-50 is a lie, and it will ruin your marriage. It is a lie, and it will ruin your marriage. And there's something deeply connected to the gospel here that we need to understand. The idea that, look, we both come in and we're both going to be equally participating, and everyone's going to always be given 50-50. You know what happens when you do that? Everyone always starts keeping track of percentages. Well, this Valentine's Day, I felt like I kind of was 70% of it. Your card was a little lackluster, right? I came up with plans. You kind of seemed like you were winging it, right? And I go to bed bitter, seething, feeling unappreciated. Today was a 70-30 day, and I'm upset about that. I understand what people are trying to do. Or at least let me put it this way. I understand the fear behind this. 50-50 marriage. We're both going to be coming in. We're going to be equal partners. But the problem is that's not life. Just like there's a person who has an offense that needs to be covered with love, every day, my friends, is not going to be 50-50. Okay, Laura's generally higher than I am on the scale. But there's a few days where I'm doing better than she is, okay? And when that's reality, could be because of sickness, could be because of how someone's just struggling with something. Maybe you have a responsibility that lands more on another, like a work project or children or whatever. Marriage is not always 50-50. In fact, almost any given day, someone is doing more than somebody else. And the fear is this. Look, if we're not fighting for 50-50, then I'm afraid I'm going to be taken advantage of. And I'm going to be the one who's always cooking, I'm always going to be cleaning, I'm always going to be doing the bills or whatever. And the other person is just going to be staying at home and playing Ark Raiders all day long. And it feels like it's not fair. I understand the desire. I don't want to be taken advantage of. But this is where I love what Jesus says and what the gospel says that is exemplified through a Christ-like marriage. The only actual marriage that has a shot at really thriving, do you know what it is? 100% meets 100%. That's the idea of a Christian marriage. It's not 50-50. It's I'm giving because God gave me so much. I'm giving because it's the right thing to do. What was the verse I said earlier? Christ died for us even while we were yet sinners. That was 100%, negative 100%. The whole message of the gospel of grace is an undeserved favor. Now, please know, I'm talking in context of a normal relationship. If someone is being abusive, if they're hyper-narcissistic, if there's something going on that's harming, that's a different conversation. Proverbs is not trying to address everything. We're talking just kind of the normal stuff here. And the normal stuff is people are back and forth all the time with who's doing more, who's doing less. And if you're trying to keep count and you're keeping tabs, first of all, you're probably not doing it honestly. You think that dishes are more annoying, so you rank that higher, you know? You don't really care about paying bills, so the fact that that person does it, that doesn't count as much as dishes, right? We're not fair in how we evaluate. But even if you were, all that's going to do is build this resentment. Let me tell you what's beautiful about what the Bible suggests. One gives freely, yet grows all the richer. That verse right there will change your life. Did you know that you can give and you can actually outgive the person on Valentine's Day? The Bible's talking about there's going to be this richness that comes to your life, this calculation outside of who did what and did they do enough or am I doing enough? The idea that we can be a people who give freely because we are people who've been given freely to. I can love because, man, God has brought so much love in my life. And when you have that relationship, it's catalytic. I guarantee you, when the other person, assuming there's nothing like crazy going on, when the other person experiences that and going, wow, they're choosing to give just because they're loving me, you know what that engenders in them? I want to give back. That's a true grace-filled relationship. If you're fearful, if you're living in this place of fear, man, if I give freely, am I going to be taken advantage of? Hopefully not. Hopefully you're married a good person. But this baseline reality, friends, I can let it go. Maybe you picked up that fear when you were a kid and it's got nothing to do with your marriage. I don't know. But open hands. I'm believing. Even if this other person doesn't express it in the moment, if I'm a person who just freely gives of love, God's going to do something in my heart. I'm going to experience something, and I'm going to receive a blessing for that. If you switch that, friends, I think your marriage is going to thrive. I got time for one more. I'll do one more fast. What do we want? 1 or 4? Number 1, Proverbs 5. Proverbs 5. Oh, man, I love this one. All right. Drink water from your own cistern. By the way, this passage is filled with a lot of innuendos, okay? So read it as you will. Drink water from your own cistern, flowing from your own well. Let me read the rest of this. When we're talking about Proverbs chapter 5, there's a popular idea that I fall in love, right? I was walking along, minding my business, and, all of a sudden, I see this person, and I'm just like blown over by love, and I'm so excited, and I fell in love. You know the problem with saying that you fall in love? You can fall out of it. What most people mean by love is infatuation. I was so, this person just looked great, all right? I just thought they looked amazing. I was excited. We had a connection. I was kind of caught up, butterflies sort of stuff. That's love. Listen to what the Bible has to say from Proverbs 5:15. It says this, drink water from your own cistern, flowing water from your own well. Should your springs be scattered abroad, streams of water in the streets? Let them be for yourself alone and not for strangers with you. Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth. I'm going to read that verse one more time. I want you to listen to what I'm saying. Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth. It does not say rejoice in your youthful wife. Let me reverse it here. Rejoice in the husband of your youth, not rejoice in your trophy husband-wife. Hey, I know something about it. Being a trophy husband is not as easy as it seems, right? Let your fountain be blessed and rejoice in the wife of your youth, a lovely deer, a graceful doe. Let her breast fill you at all times with delight. Be intoxicated always in her love. Why should you be intoxicated, my son, with a forbidden woman and embrace the bosom of an adulteress? For a man's ways are before the eyes of the Lord, and he ponders all of his paths. The iniquities of the wicked ensnare him, and he is held fast in the cords of sin. He dies for lack of discipline, and because of his great folly, he is led astray. Here's the fast version. We have this idea that our love and attraction is some sort of mysterious thing outside of our own force. The Bible actually is going to argue something separately. It's not that you don't have an initial response, right? There's chemicals involved in this, and there's cultural tropes involved in this. There's a whole bunch of stuff going on, right? You've probably been there. You've seen that. You've felt that. But in a relationship, the Bible actually commands you to intentionally choose to be caught up in somebody else's love. Did you know that your desire is something that you lead with your own heart? We have this idea, this weird idea, that, it's just, my heart's this sort of pillar outside of myself that just does whatever it wants, and so I should follow that. This is just terrible advice. Your heart follows your investments. They quoted it earlier today in the announcements. Jesus said, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. What you invest in, you learn to love. That's why we have people who go to the Super Bowl party and they're glued to the screen because they know, they care, they understand what's happening. And they have people who are just laughing it up and playing ping pong. They know nothing of football. They don't care. Why are you not invested? Because you don't know what's going on. You haven't followed teams. We know this. This is true in sports. Did you know it's true in your sexual desires? You can lead it. You can choose to continuously be caught up in the person who you are with and to thrive with that person. Think about the weirdness of this phrase. The Bible rarely ever says this. Be intoxicated with your love. You need to shepherd your own desire. And you can. When people feel like it's this outside force that's just kind of whatever, then they make all these things of I used to love that person, and I don't now, and now my heart wants this person. You know what your heart wants? Novelty. because you never learn to shepherd your own desires. You can do it with your spiritual desires. You can do it with the things that we invest in, like sports and all sorts of. You can do it with your sexual desires too. You want a marriage that thrives. You need to be thinking to myself, I'm going to be intentionally caught up in my spouse or partner. And it's like I see the wife of my youth, not my youthful wife, and I'm intoxicated with her. Look, all jokes aside, because no one's like, I didn't want to hear, wife of your youth and all that. That wasn't my bingo card today from the pastor here. But let me set jokes aside for a moment. Don't you want that sort of marriage? Where it's not, I constantly have to find whatever the next person is on the swipe. I always have to find this next person at the office that makes me feel seen. Or like when we get together, it feels like there's this electric connection. Don't you want a life where you're not just always trying to look for that elsewhere? If you're going on marriage number 4, marriage number 5, marriage number 6, I don't know what you're looking for, but you're not going to find it at number 7. The Bible actually argues that you can direct your own desires and you can be caught up in and go, man, I love our relationship. I'm not looking for something else. That's possible, friends. And in fact, it's not just possible, it's wise. It's wise. My hope for you, if you're in a marriage context, is that you find yourself going, man, I don't just want to live next to somebody. I want a faithful person who's going to see me in the good and the bad and choose grace and teach me about what following God looks like and feel what it's like, not just know. I want to be choosing to live with some guardrails so that we keep giving this thing its best shot of succeeding. I'm not going to be skirting danger all the time or relying on what. I want to be choosing to invest in each other to the point where we are connecting in such a way that we're not looking for it elsewhere outside. I want to be in this place that teaches me a little bit more about Christ and his church. Friends, I want that for me. I want that for you. As the worship team comes up, as we close, let's conclude this way. When we talk about marriage, first of all, I'm just going to put this as an open statement. If you're in a marriage situation and it's a struggle, if you're just needing some basic help or to talk, reach out to the church. There's people here with lots of training on that. If you need to be outsourced to a professional counselor for something long-term, we can do that. But I just want you to know you're not the only one. Marriage isn't easy, it's hard. There's a lot of things that we do, and sometimes we're embarrassed to go, boy, we're kind of struggling this. I want you to know it's something that happens all the time, and there is wisdom. There are ways forward. I believe that you can experience the beautiful truth of Jesus Christ in a deeper and a richer way if you are married in your marriage. And I believe that if you're putting God at the center of that, then it's going to be kind of like two people, right? Said we're going to be together, sickness or sick and tiredness of you and health. And when you're moving towards God, what's actually happening is you're both going to be moving towards each other. That's why having that as the North Star really, really matters, my friends. Do you know any statistic about divorce? People who actually attend church together, I don't just mean people who say they're Christians. There's no difference in the data there. People who go to a church together, your chances of staying together skyrocket because you actually have this sort of North Star that you're moving towards. My hope is you're thriving. And if you're not, I pray that you just kind of open your hands and go, God, would you teach me what wisdom is? If I need help, let me get help. If we need to have a hard conversation, let me have a hard conversation. If I need to learn to keep my mouth shut, Heavenly Father, give me the grace to shut my mouth and choose love. Father in heaven, today, I pray that this place, for those who are married here, would just be an example of you, of your love for the church. And Father, something deeper, just the beauty of a gospel who invites the broken, who invites the weary, who invites those who are burdened with sin to experience grace, and a grace that's not cheap, but Father, it is patient, it is kind, it's hopeful, and it's transformative. May we be transformed as we follow after you together. In Jesus' name we pray, amen.